So last week I made a video talking about the red flags of what is on a dating profile. So a lot of people have been asking, and I think I even hinted at that this week I would be talking about things that absolutely 100% should be on a dating profile. And moreover, things that you should have and things that you should look for. Like if these things are missing, not only are these things, like I said, to help you stand out and to help get people to like you, but things that you should look for in others. And when you don't see these things, what ends up happening is, a little bit of a red flag, like the absence of a good thing. So the first thing is what you want, what you're looking for. So the biggest problem I have when people say what they want is typically they don't really know what they want and they don't know how vague they're being. Like when I said that vague was one of the big red flags, I feel like, if you tell someone that I have no idea what you want from what you told me, they're like, sure you do. I told you I want a relationship. Okay, well, what do you want in that relationship? What does that relationship look like? Who do you want to be in a relationship with? What are the characteristics and dynamics of that relationship? What's your communication style? What makes you happy? What things can't you live with? Like just saying that you want a relationship pretty much tells me that you don't care who you're in a relationship with, that anybody that will have you will do as long as they will actually commit to being in a relationship with you. And then, and arguably when these people get told that argument, they're like, oh, but that's silly. Everyone knows what a relationship is. It's someone who doesn't lie to you or cheat on you or any of those things. And it's like, okay, hold on a second. Just because someone isn't lying and cheating on you doesn't mean you're in a healthy relationship. It just could mean that they have a low sex drive and they don't care at all about you. I mean, I can ignore you for years. There's plenty of people who ignore their spouse, who ignore the person that they're with for years, and they aren't lying, they aren't cheating, but that other person still isn't happy. At some point there needs to be some sort of passion or some sort of joint goals or needs that are being met, because everybody has needs. And those needs are not the same, and male and female needs are often not the same. But even within male and female, there's a lot of individual types of needs that need to be addressed. So you need to figure out what it is you want. And if you're having trouble figuring out what that even means, I do offer courses talking about trying to figure yourself out in a relationship and what you actually do need from a partner and what you actually want out of life, which, is a hard question, but it's actually not that hard if you break it down. Next thing you should have on there is what you have to offer. So you just said what you wanted from the other person, like things that they should be able to offer you. But these are the things that you should be able to offer to a spouse. So typically speaking, there's really only 2 or 3 different types of relationships that can exist. Either you're looking for something very serious, you're looking for something very casual, or you're looking for something in between. That's really the 3. So this channel is typically for the more serious. And one of the things that I always tell people about that is when people say they're not looking for serious, what it typically means is that they don't believe that serious exists, because everybody has the ideal person out there in their mind. Like we all fantasize about that perfect person that is going to make our lives better, and we will just be so happy and blessed to be around them, whether that be, some celebrity or something that we've projected all of our hopes and dreams onto or whatever that exists. So if that perfect person was presented to us, we would all jump at the chance to be in a relationship with them. So when most people say that they don't want to be in a relationship, what they're really saying is, I don't believe that exists, and I really just want as much as I can get in the meantime. So that's more about their intentions rather than what they actually want. So what you have to offer somebody is, honesty, or, basically what you have to offer someone. You can offer sex like that, you can talk about sexual skills, but again, that's very short term. Anything beyond that is what you offer in a long-term situation. So like what you would offer a potential partner. So, I'm a good cook. These are the things I care about. These are the things that I actually am good at in life that are skills that I can offer into this mingling of things. Because typically speaking, you do not want someone that has all the same skills that you do, because, if you're a good cook, you don't necessarily need a second good cook in the household. I mean, sometimes it's nice, like if you don't have to be the one cooking, so that the other person can kind of take over and you can kind of share duties there. But typically speaking, everybody knows how to cook at least a couple of dishes, so that, you know, even if they're not a great cook, they can kind of, you know, pitch in from time to time. But, you know, you don't need people with overlapping skills, and I think that's what most people end up doing in the very beginning, which is kind of a problem. When you try and find someone with similar skills, but then you also have similar weaknesses, if that makes any sense. So you want something well-rounded, and you want to immediately start building into that narrative of this is what life would be like with me. These are the things I'm looking for, this is what I offer, this is the complete picture of life in that relationship and what that, you know, like what that exists. You know, and you can't get all the details right because you don't know who the other bit of the equation is, but you can get pretty close because you have goals and you have standards and you have things that you're looking for and things that you need. The next one that I think is very healthy, and I think it's a fine line in how you communicate it, because one of the things I said in my red flag video was talking about people who complain a lot. So complaining about like what a past person did is, you know, awful, but setting boundaries that you expect to be followed is very good. So, you know, complaining that all men are liars, that's a red flag. But saying, I don't accept people who lie to me, and the moment you lie to me, my trust is broken and you're done, and you should know that up front. That's healthy. That's a healthy thing to say. You know, I often say I don't deal with drug addicts, and I understand that a lot of people out there smoke weed, and I'm not, you know, like politically, I'm fine with legalizing it, but I don't want that in my home. And if that's you and that's not something you can give up, we should stop this right now. That's one of my boundaries. And, you know, obviously I'm not in the look right now, but you get the idea. The next thing is hobbies, which really, you know, a lot of people will say hobbies, and I feel like a lot of people's hobbies are they sit around and they sit on their couch and they watch television. So they'll put in hiking, or I love to go out. So like they go from their couch to like being drunk. Like I feel like these are the people you should be wary of. But really what you're wanting to do is give a picture of where you spend your time during the day. So I assume everyone here works. So like everyone sleeps, everyone works, everyone eats. So that's typically speaking between 4 to 6 hours a day that is not consumed by sleep, work, or eating, that you are doing something else with your time. So what is that thing? You know, and typically speaking, more productive activities tend to be more sought after. Though some lazy people seek other lazy people so they don't have to feel guilt about how lazy they are, but you get the idea. Why you're looking for the things that you are, why you're on the site, what is different. Like, you know, a really simple one might be, you don't want to go too much into old relationships, but hey, newly single, or, you know, this is a little bit more typical, new to the area and wanting to meet people, but like that makes sense. Like the reason why that's a cliche is because it's real. Like people, when they move into a new town, like, hey, coming from California, because everyone's moving away from California right now. Hey, coming from California, I'm here now. I don't know anyone. Would love to meet new people for friends or possibly more. I feel like that explains your motivation. Hey, just got out of a relationship, single now. You know, I feel like the ones that you know, as a red flag, people who've been single for a really long time, like one of the biggest questions that gets asked is, how long have you been on here? Which is a really, really good question once you start getting into talking to somebody, because, oh yeah, I've been on here for 2 years. Chances are you're not going to be the person to get them off. So, you know, so the next one that I always get into is life focus. So your life focus is, you know, like what are your goals in life? Like where are you trying to get to? Because one of the biggest things that I feel like will break up a relationship faster than anything else is going in two different paths. So let's say hypothetically that you're in a moderate sized place and you have two people and they're perfect for each other in terms of chemistry, but one of them wants to live in a big city and one of them wants to go into a small town, like something smaller, more rural. So, you know, this is the biggest place that the person who wants to live in a small town has ever been. This is the smallest place that the person who wants to live in a big city has been. I knew with my ex, she wanted to travel constantly. Like her ideal life was she wanted to go from big city to big city, and every 2 to 3 years move to another job and get a apartment. and just, do that every 2 or 3 years and see the world. And for me, I wanted a small town to live on some land, grow my own food, and grow roots in a community that was very small. Like a nice suburban thing. Like, I like cities to visit. Like, I like living close to a city. Like, there's some rural areas where it's like you gotta drive 12 hours to get to an actual city. That's not what I'm into. But for instance, like, our goals were never going to be aligned that way, and somebody was always going to have to give something up big, which always created tension. So, something to say, hey, this is what I want. This is what I want in a partner. This is what I want for my life. You can figure out whether or not you want to be a part of that very quickly. Here's one that I find is one of the most important qualities in another partner, in talking to people and trying to figure out whether or not you're compatible, is trying to see what's wrong with you, like your own vulnerabilities. Like, I talked to a girl, this isn't enough for its own video, but one of the things I used to ask early on, like I used to have a list of questions that I would ask early on, because typically conversations are all the same in the beginning. And I would ask, like, what are issues that you've had in previous relationships that have caused problems, and what have you done to change it? And, the response I got, which was just one of the most toxic responses I think I've ever gotten, was, why would you assume there's anything wrong with me? I was like, really? You're just perfect? Like they were the problem? Really? I think it shows so much reflection and ability to understand yourself, to just take a step back and realize, these are the problems from my past relationships. These are the things that they did. This is how I responded. Maybe this is how I contributed. This is maybe you were the problem. Like, maybe you created those situations. And a lot of times, like, I've heard this from people where it's like, well, they were always upset. Well, why were they always upset? Like, what did you do to upset them all the time? And some people, yes, they have anger issues, but like, if you're poking at somebody every single day and they're getting upset from it, like, at some point, like, you need to realize that you're being an instigator, and that there's things that you need to do. So, like, if people are not self-conscious or self-aware enough to know what it is that they're, I think a really, healthy thing would be is, like, if you have, temper problems, to say, hey, I do have a bit of a temper. I sometimes yell, which is true of me, and I need somebody who's willing to talk and not try and, like, for me, there's a lot of emotional arguments and things because I have Asperger's, and there's things that I can't deal with that. Like, there's things that just stress me out too much, and it's like I need somebody who's calm and not an instigator, because when I feel like I'm being poked, like, I respond unfairly, like my response is not equivalent to what I'm responding to. So I need somebody that understands that. The next thing that I think is just important generally in another person, and this goes for friendships or just people you meet generally, is optimism. So if somebody is telling you, like, man, I can't wait to talk to people, something like that, or whatever, like, that's just such a different tone than somebody who's complaining, like, somebody get me off this site already. There's going to be a process to finding people. So if you are just looking to, if somebody is just looking, like, say, to get off a dating site, it basically means that they don't care who they end up with again, which is a problem. Like, I'll settle for anything. My standards are super low. Whereas if you're looking at it as a process, like, hey, you might not be the love of my life, but you could be my best friend. Like, I actually met my very best friend on a dating website. We were both going through a divorce, and had a lot of similar life history and life stories and things of that nature, and we hit it off, and there was absolutely zero attraction, and there was zero compatibility from, like, what we want to do with our lives. But in terms of spending time together, she's still my best friend. Like she is actually my best friend to this day. So that can happen when you have a positive outlook of, like, what good thing can come from this, and a genuine excitement. Those are people that you want in your life. And the last one is goals. Whether that be, hey, I'd love to find a workout buddy because, I'm trying to lose weight, I'm trying to be healthier. Or, hey, I'd love to find other single parents out there because whatever, like generally like people who are being proactive and productive with their lives, like, hey, I would love to find people to do this, or I would, anybody who's looking to improve themselves is always a good first step. So those are really the 10 things that I look for and 10 things that I always try and do. And the last one, the 10th thing, is their name. So I know there's a lot of discussion out there about putting your real name out there, that, you don't want people to look you up. The internet's a real thing, but I kind of feel like with pictures you can already look people up, because chances are you're putting up your best pictures and you've probably put that on your social media somewhere. So I'm not saying put your full name down, and a lot of people I know use their middle name, especially females seem to do that, because I feel like guy middle names are always a little like funny. Like my middle name is not a complete name. Like you would never introduce yourself as my middle name. Like it's just not a name. It's a middle name. Whereas I feel like female middle names, like they have 2 first names. So yeah, I think that's a thing where a lot of women will use their middle name, and that's fine. But I feel like, if you put that at the end after you've said a good thing, it's like a little introduction at the end,